Welcome to the Paws On Littleton Public Schools podcast. This is our first episode. I'm your host, Aherne. I'm a member of the Littleton Public Schools School Committee. Please note that this podcast is meant to inform Littletonians and not a reflection of the opinions or views of the full subcommittee or the district. Today, our guest is Littleton Public Schools Superintendent, Dr. Kelly. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
It's important to me that this podcast have its first guest be someone with such a pivotal role in the district. And I also wanted to give you the chance to speak to your recent announcement that I was sad to hear.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here today. I love the podcast setting. I mean, it's really nice to get communication out to our community and have a personal conversation. So thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
You know, after 27 years of being a superintendent, 45 years in education, 15 of those years were as the superintendent of Littleton Public Schools, I've decided to retire as of July 1st, 2026. When you're passionate about the work that you do, it certainly wasn't an easy decision to make for me, but at the same time, it's the right one. As a superintendent, it's not a job, it's a way of life, it's a calling. And no matter how hard you try, you're a superintendent 24 hours a day. And juggling family and other obligations that you have is really difficult to do. And I felt it was time to refocus on my family, redevelop some hobbies that I used to do many years ago. So I'm looking forward to rediscovering them. And a few I need to slowly get back into. I love building things, so I better be careful when I'm using saws and power nailers at first. I can't work as fast as I used to, I'm sure. And I have a granddaughter that's 10 years old, and it's getting to the point now where I really need to spend some time with Peyton so that she really knows who I am, and hopefully, I'm hopeful more correctly to be more of a predominant influence in her life as she grows. So Littleton has been an incredible community to work in. I feel like I'm part of Littleton now. Littleton will always be with me, and I'm just so fortunate and full of gratitude that I found a community like Littleton that values education and has really supported me during the 15 years that I've been here as superintendent.
That's wonderful. I'm really glad you're getting that time, and like I said, we're very sad to see you leave, but you've given us a lot, and we really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. It's been a great journey.
And like you mentioned, you've been here for 15 years. It's not something you see anymore, right? A lot of people, maybe they get 5 years or so, whatever, but they don't stick around for that long. So I really appreciate that. What was it about Littleton, I know you spoke to a little bit, but made you want to stay around for those 15 years?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. There's been a shortage of superintendents for many, many years. And I've always been a leader that is passionate about making a difference. And having been in leadership for many years, it didn't take me long to figure out that in order to actually create sustainable change in a district, you need to stay for a period of time. And being a change agent, providing better learning environments for students is a real driver for me. That's why I became a superintendent. I was quite happy as an educator. I was happy as an assistant principal. Principal was great too, but I had a bigger calling. And I never knew that when I was an educator, but all of a sudden I started to look at the big picture and felt that this is where I wanted to end up. So very proud of what I've been able to do during my career and feel that I've made a difference in many communities. And being an educator is an incredible job. It's a job that truly makes a difference, and we do make an incredible difference in students' and families' lives, and it's very rewarding. So this passion in terms of moving districts forward, implementing sustainable change that focuses on improved student learning and overall growth, which includes student well-being, is always something that I valued as an effective leader. When I first came to Littleton for an interview, I had a number of opportunities. And the school committee on the final interview, I really connected with them. And after looking into the community, I saw so much potential in Littleton and for my skill sets that I already had. it was an opportunity for me to make a difference in a community that valued education. That it was clear to me that the school committee was looking for a visionary leader, one that would roll up their sleeves, I'll start again, roll up their sleeves and get in the trenches with staff. And that's one of I feel, the key ingredients of being successful is your staff need to know that it's important to you as a leader and that you're going to be alongside them and helping them get where we need to be and also listening to them at the same time. You can't be a successful change agent without having staff understand why it's so important to move the direction that you're setting. And in Littleton, I've never felt that I've run out of those opportunities, and that's motivated me, to stay as long as I have. And before I knew it, I felt part of Littleton. Littleton is home to me, and I've lived in a number of places in my life, and it was really interesting to me to come to terms with the fact that, I wasn't born here. I've lived in probably 15 different areas in my career, but there's just something so special about Littleton. It's a great community to raise a family. It's a community that really exemplifies the meaning of community. People care about each other. They care about education, and they want everybody to be successful. And that's what community is all about. And for me, I'm just so proud that I found a community like Littleton. And Littleton really, my identity is Littleton more than where I was born. So I think that speaks volumes to the community itself. And so, 15 years went by pretty fast, and every year, as a superintendent, I always do my own review of where we are as a district, and can I do more? And there are times as a superintendent you feel that you've done what you can do, and if you are motivated by change, then you look for other opportunities so that you can help other communities move forward. But in Littleton, just the design of the community has allowed me to continue to move the district forward and really focus on providing better opportunities for our students to learn and grow and be successful after they finish high school. And I have to mention the gratitude I have for the original school committee members that brought me on board. It was P.J. Avella, Mike Fontanella, Chuck DeCoste, Sean Estea, and Nancy Mazzoni. Out of all those people, Chuck is still active in town politics. He's on the select board. The rest have moved away except for Nancy Mazzoni. Nancy Mazzoni still lives in town. So it just shows you how much change there is over a 15-year time period. I've been blessed to have the support of school committee members and staff and students during the time that I've been here. And we've had a number of changes on the school committee. And I've always believed that as soon as you have a new school committee member, you have a new team. And you have to develop that team. And I've been fortunate to have people that have given me the latitude to lead, and as a result of that, we've been able to do incredible things together.
That's wonderful. Yeah, we're very lucky that you came here, and you're absolutely part of Littleton. And I think I've told you personally that a large reason why my wife and I moved here was the school system, right? And that's a credit to everything you've worked on for the last 15 years. So I really appreciate you.
Yeah, that's what we like to hear.
I did want to ask you if there's a favorite accomplishment you've had in the time running the district.
That's an excellent question, but it's really hard. I'm going to give you a few.
Please.
And I could give you 50 minutes of them, but I won't. But I had to really think about this, and one of the things that I'm proud of, many things that I'm proud of, is coming here at the time I did. It was really coming out of a recession. Things were pretty tight. Budgets were really difficult, and we worked hard together, the school committee, myself, the administrators, select board, FinCom, to try to make sure that we wouldn't end up where we were. And we were all successful in doing that. Our budget is solid. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I have been in private industry myself and have owned 2 companies. And that fiscal component, became very evident to me as a school superintendent before I came here, that sometimes you have to generate your own revenue. And I had the opportunity as our school district gained more momentum and more recognition, to have more school choice students want to come to Littleton schools. And the whole idea of school choice was not to build a source of money or a pocket of money. It was to stabilize our grades so that we weren't shifting teachers around. And the more we stabilize grades, we can stabilize staff in positions, which is really key to student learning. It's been very successful, and we actually have waiting lists for students to get into our district. And it's allowed us to gain that revenue that allows us to be able to go through very difficult times without seeing much of a change. We're one of the very few districts in this area that haven't had to downsize in the last 3-4 years. You look around our districts in any direction, and we're pretty well unique. And that's because we've all worked so hard to make sure that we had sufficient funding available to us when the hard times arrived. And that's not going to last forever, but we still need to be creative and continue to shoulder the difficult times, because as we all know, they're not over. And hopefully they'll be over in the next couple of years. But Littleton is in good shape, and our school project is a prime example of that. When we first started that project and we met with FinCom and Select Board, our initial projection of taxation was not received very well. And as a superintendent, I had to sit down and do some real reflecting, and we knew, and I knew, that we needed a new school, but we also have to be aware of affordability. And through the help of Select Board, FinCom, Steve Venuti, school committee, myself, we came up with a plan and cut the worst year for the tax bill more than in half. And it became obviously more affordable for our community. And it's still a sacrifice, and that's what when I say Littleton is an incredible community, they will sacrifice to do what's necessary for our students and to continue to improve the quality of life in our community. So I feel really good about that. Another area is the integration of one-on-one technology into our district. When I came here, we really didn't have much technology. I had one-on-one technology programs in the last 2 districts that I was a superintendent in. And that was an incredible process to figure out where we're going to get the funding from, and then offer the professional development to use technology in a way that enhances opportunities for students to learn, not just word processing, et cetera. And I think we've done a tremendous job. I have a great technology team, and we're always looking for best and next practices. And STEAM and STEM is well alive in our district, K through 12. And so that's an area that I'm very proud of as well. And another area is obviously the ability to have created a dynamic team of administrators, educators, staff, and having school committees along the way that have given me the latitude to lead. I mean, as a team, we have done incredible things, and our students and families have benefited from the work that we've done together. So, those are just some of the things I'm so proud of. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to Littleton School District, after I retire, continuing to move forward. That's essential.
You've laid a very strong foundation. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm curious, you spoke to it earlier, but what are you really looking forward to in retirement? Is there one thing in particular? I know you mentioned Peyton. I assume that might be top of mind.
That was one of the driving factors, and obviously my family, my whole family, because having family in another country is difficult, and especially with a job like mine. And most of my trips to Canada in the last 15 years have been 3-day trips, and it takes 9.5 hours to get there. And so you really don't have a lot of time. You have to make the best of it when you're there. And as Peyton began to grow older, she became more attached to us. But we're the grandparents that are in and out. We fly in and out. The other set of grandparents live 5 miles away. And, it just became harder for Peyton to adjust when we were leaving. And that's when I just started to think, she's 10 years old, and I've done this ever since she was born. It's time to slow down and spend time where we really need to spend time, and that's with family. And do a bit of traveling and rekindle some friendships that we don't have time to spend a lot of time with friends in Canada or friends when I was in Maine, etc. It's just not part of what you can do. So that's really what I'm looking forward to, and the hobbies as well. I mean, I love to golf. My clubs haven't been out for a couple of years now. I need to polish them up and get them ready, and hiking, and I know, I said I do, like to do woodworking and some construction, things like that, and so I'm just looking forward to having that time and being able to determine what you want to do during the day, and so it's exciting. I know I'm going to miss the pace and miss the job and miss this community and our students and staff immensely, but at some point in time, you have to start doing more for yourself and your family, and it's time. So.
Yeah, as you said, being a superintendent is a 24/7 job.
It is.
And you have to really respect, as a community member, the person behind that job as well. So I'm glad you're getting the opportunity to do that now. It's wonderful.
Thank you. And a lot of what, I guess I do need to make this statement, it's a 24/7 job, but when you're passionate and motivated, sometimes you have difficulty striking that work-life balance. And I think that's just part of my personality. So I'm responsible for some of this as well. It is the job, but it's also, when you really care about what you're doing and every decision you make affects the lives of our families and students. It's a big responsibility. You want to make sure you do everything you can to get it right.
It absolutely is. Yeah, absolutely. Kind of making a small pivot. I think we'll talk later tonight. This is being recorded on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk later tonight about moving forward as far as what the search will look like for your successor. But just curious, you'll have plenty of time to think about this. We're not losing you soon, which is great. What advice would you give to your successor? You've been in the role of kind of coming into this district. You know all the stakeholders at this point. You've been here a long time.
Again, this is not a 2-minute answer, but I'll make it a 2-minute answer. It's a nice beginning. For the successor of Littleton Public Schools, one thing I've always used when I move to a community is take the time to learn where the district has been, and respect that, and also take some time to figure out how it ended up where it is, and then look at what plans have been established to move the district to the next level. So it's all about vision when you're a superintendent, and you have to be a visionary, but that's not enough. You have to be a visionary that's able to actualize the vision. In other words, you have to know how to work with people, get the critical mass that really understands why you're moving in the direction that you're doing, and then work together to attain the goals that you've set. That's so important in who the successor is. It's not hard to use educational jargon. I mean, we're all educated. What's really hard is to put that jargon or philosophy into action. And that makes a difference, in my opinion, between an effective leader and a mediocre leader. So for me, that would be very high on the list. As a leader, you obviously need to lead with passion. You need to be an instructional leader. There's all sorts of personalities and educational levels that go into superintendencies. But I've always found that if you want to improve the education for students, you do have to understand education. You have to be an instructional leader, and you have to model that as well. And I've done that ever since I've been a teacher. As a school-based administrator, I always taught a class, and that kept me in the classroom and at times kept my sanity, believe it or not. You would be dealing with conflict all day, and you'd go into your class and teach a class, and it was just reminded you of why you do what you do for a living. And it's so important that you don't lose sight of how pivot or how necessary it is to model what an instruction leader is. Your principals also have to model that behavior, and they need to see that in you as a superintendent. The job will take you in many different directions because there are so many responsibilities, but in the end, you can't lose that one component. And fiscal management is another component. You'll never accomplish what you set out to accomplish unless you can develop a budget, not just on a yearly basis. You have to think ahead about the future so that what you do will stay. And what I mean by that is it's always hard to put a program in, hire staff, and then have budgetary concerns and take away what you've given. And in my career, I've only had to do that twice out of 27 years as a superintendent. Unfortunately, one of them was here, and it was my second year here, so I really didn't have to take away what I created, but I had to take away what somebody else had created. And you really learn from those experiences, because if you don't have a budget that's sustainable, all those good things that you've done that have become part of the culture of your school system can begin to disappear. So that fiscal component, to be able to understand what our schools need, what our students need, what our staff need to be successful, and advocate for that, and advocate with the school committee, because the school committee really is the entity that secures sufficient funding for the superintendent to do their job. And I just can't not mention that as a key quality that you need to look for in your next superintendent. I know we have business managers and accountants, et cetera, but the superintendent has the vision. They have the luxury of looking at all of the schools in this district and working collaboratively with administration and staff, knowing what those schools need. And so you have that knowledge that nobody else has in the district, and you have to make sure that that knowledge is tied into the needs to continue to move the district forward. And your budgets really need to be developed in part using the strategic plan as a guide, because the strategic plan is your roadmap. And once you have that, then you need to figure out strategies as to how you're going to get there. The other part is, or other components, or many, but you need to be a courageous leader. I mean, I remember my first superintendency. During the interview, one of the board members, they were boards of education at that time, asked me if you're able to make tough decisions. And that I'll never forget that question, because that is a key part of who you are as a leader. Yes, you would like to keep everybody happy, but that's an impossibility. What's important is that when you're faced with making decisions, you always have the best interests of the children that we serve in mind. That has to be a top priority. I guess another quality is the importance of developing relationships and listening. We all have a tendency, when we're in a conflictual situation, when somebody's talking, to already be thinking about what we're going to say. And that's something that you really have to always work on, because in order for you to move forward, find some common ground, you really need to truly listen what the conflict is all about. And you know, sometimes it's perceptual differences. And so the ability to listen, not be emotional, be full of empathy and understanding, allows you to bring people along. And that doesn't mean everybody's going to agree with you all the time. But what's important is that most people understand why you made the decision that you did down the road. Could be a month, could be a year, could be 5 years. But what's important, and important to me as a superintendent, is when you see that tough decision come to fruition, and it was the right decision, and it made the difference it was supposed to make. So, I mean, that's a really important quality. And you're only as strong as your team. You have to assemble a dynamic team, and you have to help them become the best that they can be. So empowering leadership, I would say, would be a huge quality that I would be looking for in a future leader of this district.
That's great.
Yes, and I'll stop there. I could go.
No, I appreciate that, and I'm sure we'll have further conversations as we move forward with the process.
Great.
I would say that, you speak about having a vision and the physical responsibility allows you to enact that vision. I think that's a nice transition to the Shaker Lane project.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is something that I know that you started working on last decade to try and make proposals for it. And I know that over a series of years now, the school committee and tandem with FinCom and with the town has put away money to make sure that we were going to be in the right position to do this. Do you want to speak a little bit to that?
Yes. I mean, it's interesting in leadership, and there are so many things that are going on all the time. But when I first came here as a superintendent, it was evident to me that we really needed to spend some time looking at not only the fiscal component of the school district, the fiscal component of the town, the condition of our buildings, and also come up with some type of roadmap in terms of capital repair. Like, it was really nothing like that when I first came here. And to no fault of anybody's. We're coming off a recession. I mean, that shouldn't have been on everybody's mind. But it was time to look at what we needed to do to sustain our buildings and not put ourselves at risk to have unanticipated costs through lack of planning. We all know that if you don't take care of an issue, it costs more money.
Right.
And we've done a pretty good job of that. But when we first received those reports, it was very clear, black and white clear, that we couldn't afford to do what they want us to do on a yearly basis. So we had to tease out, like, what is really necessary? Do we need LED lights right away, for example? We have a roof that's leaking. Maybe that should take priority over that, and rightly so. So we became better at managing our buildings, and that's why our buildings look the way we do. But in 2011, I publicly spoke about the need to start planning for a new Shaker Lane school. It was evident to me at that time that it wasn't going to continue to meet our needs, and we were throwing good money away and knowing full well that we're going to have to replace that building at some point in time. So we've done what we could to keep that building doing what it needs to do, but as every year goes by, there's far more stress levels as a result of not knowing what might fail next. So
Definitely.
I'm so thrilled that we're moving forward with this project, and having the financial plan that we do is truly workable for this community, and we're going to have something that we're going to be proud of for the next 50 plus years, and it will be a building that's truly designed for our youngest learners. And I want to really emphasize that. Schools in this day and age are designed for the students that occupy them. Sure, we have space designated for staff, but we need to offer spaces that align with 21st century learning. And when a lot of schools were built back in the 50s and 60s, it was just traditional, and a lot of the planning went into traditional classroom spaces, space for the staff. Not a lot of thought went into collaborative learning and learning through play. And in high schools especially, if you're gonna create a culture that your students feel a sense of belonging, you need to develop spaces for them to interact without having teachers supervising them. And I think that's really important. We're sending our students out into the world after grade 12. By the time they exit our schools, they should be young adults, and they shouldn't have to be supervised like they had to be in grade 8 or grade 9. But we need to give them opportunities to not only demonstrate that behavior, but feel comfortable in those kinds of situations. And I think when you look at modern high schools, you'll see that more and more, that it's evident when you walk through the doors that they're designed for the students. So I'm so excited that we're going to have an elementary school for our youngest learners that's going to be tailored to their needs. The next stage of the process is, and you're heavily involved in this, is the CM at risk, and you had a meeting today, and thank you for telling me who is interested for their RFPs, because they're great companies, and we need somebody that is going to work for us in a way that's going to keep those costs where they need to be. And sometimes you're going to have to find alternate materials to use in a school that are going to have the same longevity as the ones that you wanted to use. somebody that really understands the business. If you're running water lines, for example, into a school, you need to make sure that they're the right diameter. I've recently heard about a project that I won't disclose where it happened, but water lines were running and they're the wrong size. They were too small, and then they were fighting over who's going to pay for the replacing of the water lines, taking them back out of the ground, et cetera. So that knowledge, those checks and balances are really important. And also creating a building site that's safe. We're going to have Shaker Lane School fully operational, and that building is going to be in back of the school. We're going to need a company that really truly knows how to exercise safety and develop a safety plan that's going to keep not only our students safe, but keep our abutters feeling comfortable about what's happening close to their houses. So this is an exciting phase of the project, and then after that is the final design phase, and that's where we've put everything that we've done into a working drawing, and then before you know it, we'll be digging the hole, and in summer of 2029, we will have our youngest learners moving into a brand new school. So that's such an exciting project to have been part of. And I'm looking forward for an invitation to come back when it's done.
Certainly. Yes, it's a nice legacy to leave. Absolutely.
It's been fun. Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned, obviously, I'm working on hiring the CM at Risk, working with the subcommittee to do that. Explain a little bit what a CM at Risk does. The
CM at Risk company really ensures that it's like an orchestra conductor, making sure that everybody is singing on the same page, so to speak. I mean, there are so many things happening when you're building a school or any building, and they all have to be synchronized properly. You know, it's just like an analogy I'll use. If you were building a condo complex and you hired a plumbing company and they didn't get there in time to put the ground services into the units, and by the time the company arrives, the subfloor is already on, and you can't use machinery to dig the services in. I've seen that happen before in my career. Talk about putting a project off schedule and spending a lot of unnecessary money to get a job done. So that synchronization of what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, the quality of the work that's happening, and the choosing of materials and labor costs to keep us in line is so important. I mean, I realize, I was a builder myself many years ago, that change orders will happen. But I also believe that if you're planned and you've done the right kind of work before you start digging that hole, those change orders will be minimal. And my expectation, being on the building committee, is I would like it to be a rarity that we see a change order. And
I agree.
My expectation is that budget at least comes in line, or we do better than we thought. And that would certainly be my expectation of the CM at Risk company that we hire. So they're a very important part of making this project successful.
I completely agree. The building committee meets roughly once a month. We just met earlier this week. We mentioned the subcommittee that's choosing the construction manager at Risk. We started meeting, I'm chairing that committee. We started meeting at the beginning of October, waited to see how the results went with the election. Obviously very excited about that. Mm-hmm. Very grateful to the town for the overwhelming support they showed, both at town meeting, which I know is difficult to get to, and at the ballot. Very grateful to the Yes Committee and a number of other people. Mm-hmm. Again, you've mentioned certain topics you could spend a lot of time on. I could spend an hour just thanking people, so very grateful. But I will say that the subcommittee has met multiple times since we initially formed in October. We originally had 8 bids, as we've discussed. They were all strong companies. We, on Monday, cut the list down to 6. And then as the firms saw where they landed, 2 have since pulled back. We're now with 4. And they walked the grounds today. I joined them. A number of the members of the committee were there, which was great. They all seem excited. Right now, our list that we will have interviews with between now and the middle of December is Consigli, Gilbane, Shawmut, and W.T. Rich. We're very lucky to have strong contractors willing to work with us, and I'm excited to see where that goes. Again, we will have open interviews. They'll be in person. My expectation is that we will stack them in 2 nights, and then deliberate on a decision. The decision will come before December 17th, when the full committee will meet again, and we'll present who that will be, and then we're off to the races.
That's great.
Yeah. Again, the vote was amazing. 93% at town meeting, 81% at the ballot. Really grateful. I think part of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast was obviously with this big project, we're nearly $100 million building. I want to make sure we're transparent with the process and that people have access to know what happens as we go along. I think that if you want to speak a little bit to the timeline, I know you said basically it's going to be hopefully opening in the fall of 2029.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Hopefully our students will be moved in that school at the start of the 2030 school year. And having had a conversation with our architects and our OPM, they feel that if we can start the project and start digging that hole, it could possibly be sooner. It really depends. I mean, we're in good shape. We get that OPM, or not the OPM, the CM at risk on board, then the design won't take long to finalize, and then it's all about making sure that you have access to the materials in a timely manner, and that those materials are delivered on site when they need to be there. And if everything goes as is, it possibly could be earlier.
That's exciting.
That would be incredible if we could even move in at the end of June.
Absolutely.
A month would make a huge difference. But but time will tell.
And again, I think that's a testament to you. Like I said, this is a project that took a lot of time, and as you mentioned, you spoke out in the first year, second year of your tenure here. It took a long time to come together, and that speaks a lot to you. And I want to say I know you're staying on until June, and we're very grateful for that. And I know you have a lot of plans in between now and then, and I look forward to working with you with that as well. And like I mentioned, with the Sugar Lane project and how much that costs, and then obviously with the search now that's going to be in place, wanting to get this podcast off the ground. And I also wanted to note, I think that our chair, Justin, does a great job with getting public comment. I think that we have 2 different spots within the meeting for people to talk. We have a hybrid setting, so, it's hard. You're trying to put the kids to bed. You're trying to make dinner. At least you have an option. Even if you don't want to speak, you can listen. And I do want to say we meet bi-weekly at the Littleton Police Station at 7 o'clock on Thursdays. We have a meeting tonight, which we probably won't catch by the time this goes out, on November 20th. And then we have our last one of 2025 on Thursday, December 11th. And then we will resume our bi-weekly cadence January 8th. So again, thank you very much. It's an honor to have you as our first guest.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for doing this podcast. I think it's a great way to reach our community, and also a shout out to the school committee. There are a lot of school committees that aren't offering hybrid meetings, and we've really had some good conversations about, what we're trying to do is reach our whole community, and having a hybrid option allows people with young families or other commitments to be able to be at home and actually take part or listen to what we're doing within our district. So I'm really proud of the fact that we decided to continue with the hybrid model.
Absolutely. I definitely agree.
So thank you again so much for inviting me and being your first guest on your first podcast. That's really exciting.
Thank you, Kelly. And thank you all for listening.